It looks like we are actually going to go to Counselor Sean Chu right away.
Statement first, and then answer a few questions. I want to first say thank you to Ward 4 for re-electing me as the counselor for Ward 4. And thank you to everyone who has reached out to offer support for me and my family at this time. Thank you to every Ward 4 voter who emailed and called offering continued support and encouraged me to stay on. I will continue to serve as the Ward 4 City Councilor. I want to address both incidents in some details. Some of the information reported in the media is not correct, and I wish to provide correct factual information. First, the 1997 incident. I will remind you that I voluntarily submitted to a 3 to 4 hours polygraph test and passed that polygraph test on this facts. A thorough investigation was conducted that resulted in a letter of reprimand on my file, which expired in 2005. I considered the matter to have been investigated, a penalty applied and served, and the incident now resolved. As Chief Newville stated yesterday, a thorough investigation was done. It was passed to an external Crown Prosecutor's Office in Edmonton, and no charge were laid. This incident was also further investigated when there was a review by the Law Enforcement Review Board and then the Alberta Court of Appeal. They both concluded that the investigation has reached the correct outcome. Here is what happened. My police partner and I did a routine walkthrough of the King's Head Pub on my Cloud Trail later on the evening of August 11, 1997. I met the woman and agreed to return after the end of my shift. I returned at approximately 2:15 a.m. Off duty in plain clothes. It is a licensed establishment where all persons are required to be 18 years of age, as previously stated. I do not drink alcohol. We agreed we will go to my house. At my house, we engaged in some consensual touching. I was questioned extensively on that point in the polygraph and was found to be truthful. At one point, she did not wish to continue, and I respect her wishes and drove her home. To clear up some factual errors, there are allegations that I met the woman in an unlicensed location. That is not true. She may have been at that location earlier in the evening, but without question, I met her while doing an on-duty late-night walkthrough of the King's Head Pub. It has been alleged that I used a firearm in the incident. This is categorically false, and I was questioned on this point in the polygraph. In fact, I left my service weapon in my locker at work. That was my usual practice. It has been alleged that I had met her 2 years earlier. I have no recollection of having previously encountered her. I want to apologize to the woman. It was never my intention to cause any harm. In regard to the second incident that took place in 2008, I want to start by thanking my former wife and my children for their continued support. As I have stated yesterday, this was the lowest point in my life, and I was under considerable stress at the time. I was on leave of classes from the CPS as I was running in the provincial election. As per a written statement yesterday by my former wife, we had a verbal argument. She went to the neighbor for help to calm me down. She had no intention of calling the police. It was the neighbor's decision to call the police, not hers. I did have a sports rifle secured in the basement. It was not retrieved from its storage location, not used, and was not used to threaten my family. However, it is routine police procedure to seize any firearm if there is any prospect it might be used to harm someone, including the owner. The police follow normal procedure to dispose the weapon and have not owned a weapon since. As my former wife clearly stated yesterday, at no time ever have I threatened or harmed my former wife or my children. At this incident, after this incident, I chose to seek counseling for my mental health and stress. This incident was investigated and no charge were laid. This was a private family matter, and this story being used for political motivations has only brought emotional stress to my family. I'm sorry for them that this is happening. We talk a lot about mental health. I had a mental health issue, and my opponents are using it as an attack point against me and my family. I will ask you to respect my family's request for privacy. My former wife had made it very clear that no one was threatened, and the police were called for my safety. Thank you. And now I will answer some questions.
Councillor Chu, you mentioned that you were sorry to this young woman. Can you explain why? I listened to the timeline that you just gave. What are you sorry for? Because it sounds like she wanted to stop, asked to go home, and that's what happened. So why are you sorry?
I apologize that this has come up now for everyone, including my family and the woman, to have to relive this moment.
And you're probably aware that the majority of the incoming council, they seem to think that you should resign. What do you say to your colleagues who, if you're not resigning, you're staying, that means you're going to have to work with these people for the next 4 years. What do you say to them?
So I will always work with anybody in council. However, I would suggest to them that you have only heard the media, and some stuff in the media is not factual. And if they want it, my offer is this, including the mayor, all council members, if they want to know the facts, please let me know. I will sit down with them and in private, and I will answer any question they might have.
What is your reaction to the mayor-elect saying that she would not be swearing you in on Monday?
I believe the mayor, if I remember the procedure correctly, it was actually a judge doing the swearing. And in this case, I really hope my offer to the new mayor, first of all, congratulations for her, is that I know she's busy right now, but if she wanted to hear the whole truth, then I will provide that to her.
What is your reaction to the many comments on social media calling for you to resign and saying, giving various characterizations to what happened?
I'm sorry, Councillor, can you face this way?
Yes.
So I'm saying on social media, there's many people calling for you to resign, and they're also characterizing you in various ways on social media. What is your reaction to both of those? The call for you to resign and the characterizations of you on social media?
Thank you. So first of all, I want to state that, like I said earlier, that I was duly elected. As you might know, this information came out reported by CBC on October 15th. So it was before 18th election. So I will state that again, that I was duly elected by the people of Ward 4, and I intend to stay at this position to serve the people of Ward 4. As the second question you asked about people saying things about me, and I wish they all know the facts, the whole truth, and that I want to also offer this is that I told the truth. I always tell the truth. That's why during the polygraph test, they asked very specific questions. And I answered them all truthfully, and the result was that I passed it. They asked if I used a weapon, first of all. And second, two others was where that was I without consent, and I passed it.
Were you forthright? Did you share any of this history with any of the Ward 4 constituents, either in this past campaign or any previous campaigns when you were running?
Okay, this happened 24 years ago, and the case and were resolved at that time, and I believe that has nothing to do with being a counselor, and I believe that I have done I would like to think, a decent or good job at that. That this is my third election, and I was elected 3 times.
In your statement, somewhere you mentioned the word politics, something about this was being about politics or something. What do you mean by that?
So what I meant by that is that this came out just before the election, and you cannot help yourself. Any common sense person was going to think the same thing, that this is politically and character assassination. And again, I want to apologize to my family. Everybody is stressed out, and my daughter yesterday, she was crying a lot, and especially when the second CBC report on between family matter with my former ex-wife, former wife, and so my children are going through a lot right now. And again, please, I beg you, please don't listen to my ex-wife's, my former wife's statement. She asked for privacy, and then also that my current better half and her children are living together. They are suffering as well because CTV were camping out of my house for the last 2 days, I believe.
Counselor, how do you believe you can continue? Because it's not just, it's almost the entire incoming council has said you should resign. Some of your constituents are saying, you know, if I had had this information earlier, maybe I wouldn't have voted for him. And there are people in the community saying they won't take meetings with you as a result of these revelations. So how can you do your job if you do continue?
So again, I will continue to do what I've always done ever since I was elected, do the best I can, and that I also wish everybody heard the facts, what I stated, that I have told the truth, and I always will, that because that I believe, because I told the truth, and that I received a reprimand on my file, a piece of paper for 5 years, and I was never charged on any criminal offenses. And as you know, this has gone through regularly by the police service and also 2 law enforcement review board review and twice
You say this has nothing to do with you being a counselor, but it comes down to a trust situation. It feels like a lot of the trust in you as a representative has been broken because of this. So how do you continue with that trust broken there amongst colleagues and some voters in the ward?
So again, I have demonstrated just now that I have always tell the truth. And I believe that, and by the email and phone call we have received and text, I do have a lot of support from both board and actually wasn't expected. And that again, I will always tell the truth, like I have always done. And then today, I tell you the facts and what I did, and I believe telling the truth was a big part of that. I want to receive revenue on my record because I told the truth.
Did you share any of that information, any of that previous investigation with anybody in administration or anybody in any of your previous council colleagues in previous two terms?
Again, that was a long time ago, and this issue was resolved.
Sure.
A long time ago, and that I put this behind me, and I move on. I have learned from it, and I always tell the truth.
Sure, but if your record was expunged in 2005 and you were elected in 2013, this could be used for political gain for somebody. I'm just wondering if 8 years after it was expunged, you thought to share it with anybody in administration or anybody else in your personal life.
If there were any requirement, I would have, because if there's any criminal charge laid ever, and that would be something I have to dispose of. I mean, I have to tell somebody, but it wasn't. It was internal investigation, and it was I believe was a personnel issue.
After this story is broadcast and written about, there are still going to be lots of people who are going to be saying that you should leave, and they're going to still be opposed, and maybe they'll even be angrier now that you've made the decision you've made. What are you going to do, given that there's going to be, that substantial group of people who are probably even going to get more irate than they already are?
The people, I'm sure some people will do that, but again, I will always tell the truth, and then that if anybody wanted, I will be the same person. I always reply to people, and if you have any question, I will definitely meet up with them, and then give them the facts as I see it.
But what if they continue to lobby? What if council members say, no, I don't care, I still want him to resign, or people say I still want him to resign, or on Monday at the swearing in, there's people say they still want him to resign. How are you going to be able to deal with it?
Yeah, it's going to be tough, no different in the last 8 years, what I have facing, and a lot of people want me to resign on day one, even though when I was here.
However, the Premier and the Municipal Affairs Minister have both said that if the worst of these allegations are true, then they believe you should resign as well. And you are saying that this incident, as reported, at least at first, the 1997 incident with CBC, you are acknowledging that took place. So what do you say about the Premier and the Municipal Affairs Minister saying that you should make a different decision than you're making?
So, like I said, I always tell the truth. That's what I'm telling you about if it happened. However, that there were never any, again, just like what I offer the city council members, the same thing. And if they would like to know the whole facts, and please reach out to me, and I will sit down with them, and I give them the facts.
So you're saying the Premier and the Municipal Affairs Minister should reach
if they wish, and then something because they're the minister and the premier, I want to reach out to them too.
What is your understanding of why there were no criminal charges laid?
I cannot speak for the police. I can only tell you my what I think. What I think is that because I told the truth and that the whole truth, and also that I passed the polygraph test, and that was one of the main tools the police use is polygraph.
Councillor, you have admitted to having what you call is a consensual sexual encounter with a teenager whom you met while you were in uniform. Do you not see how that is problematic?
Well, I met this person at the license establishment back when called the King's Head, and I believe I was with my partner at the time, and this person came up to me, and at that time I was single, and then I mentioned to we get along well, and then we agreed that I would come back and live on it.
Can you really not tell what a 16-year-old is like versus an adult?
I was at the licensed establishment, and where that 18 years of age is the requirement, and at any bar, any licensed establishment, and people have to supposed to be over 18 and not the ID might check.
Prior to that evening, had you ever met this person?
Like I said in the statement, that I don't recall at all.
Is there anything else from your past as a police officer that could come up in the future here? We've seen two stories come out now. Is there anything else that could come up that you would be able to share that could be problematic in the future?
As a police officer, often you get lawsuits all the time and work complaints, and I believe I have done a good job as a police officer, and yes, I have received a few complaints, including ticket complaints and others, and I couldn't tell you.
So it is possible, though, that more stuff could come up.
I didn't say that. I'm just saying that as you ask any police officers, I don't believe that any police officer has no complaint against it.
Councillor, I'm sorry to interrupt. I know you've spoken in the past about term limits. Is this election your last?
Yes, at the time, if you remember correctly, myself and other councillor, we had a motion to have 3-term limits, and I'm going to hold myself to that.
Any other questions?
Are you going to attend the swearing-in ceremony on Monday?
Yes, by law, we have to attend and be sworn by a judge. I don't know who's it going to be, but that was the previous way of doing it.
And have you had any more information about the chance that I know the person who came in second has requested in their wood?
So as far as I know, we haven't received, as of now, any correspondence from Election Calgary about this issue. So we are anxious too, but we haven't received anything.
So you're looking forward to the posting of the official results tomorrow, just like the rest of us?
Yes. Thank you. Thank you.
Thanks, Councillor.
So there you have it. Councillor Sean Chu, Councillor-elect Sean Chu, has decided that he is going to stick it out and he's not going to resign at all. As you saw from the video, Chu said that there were a number of factual inaccuracies in some of the reporting that has been done, and he went through them in detail. For those of you who don't know, I am Darren Krause, editor at Livewire Calgary here. There were some questions from media about the swearing-in ceremony, and I just want to bring to you what was said by Mayor-elect Jyoti Gondek earlier today in a press conference that was held at the mayor's office.
Yes, the Sean Chu situation continues to get more disturbing. I have called for his resign. Most members of the council have called for his resign. The premier has called for his resign, as has Mr. Schreiber. Sean Chu should have to resign.
Well, I would suggest the election results are going to be made official tomorrow. He is declared the winner, and if we have to rank the law on Monday.
You can absolutely show up. You won't be sworn in by me.
So as you heard, Mayor-elect Jyoti Gondek said she wouldn't be swearing in Sean Chu. In the press conference, he said by law, he's required to show up and be sworn in. He's just not sure who is going to do that. I just want to get you up to speed on a couple of more things related to the Ward 4 race. There was a recount underway today. Those results, I had the opportunity to contact the Kelly campaign. Requests to speak with Sean Chu's campaign have gone unresponded to, I guess is the best way to put it. Of course, it was 52 votes that separate the two. I have had some folks tell me that the one issue with the tabulator that could make a recount even more substantive is that unless they're put together exactly perfectly, there could be some misalignment where some of the ballots get mixed. That has not been confirmed by the City of Calgary, but somebody who is familiar with the training and operation of these tabulator systems said that might be one of the reasons. And we do know that there were some issues with the tabulator boxes in at least 2 polling stations that night. Also, I should bring up that Calgary Police Chief Mark Neufeld also spoke out last night with a statement from his office. He acknowledged the 2008 police incident where they were called to Sean Chu's residence, and he said it was reviewed and no action at that time was taken. He said, based on the process that they have in place today, that they likely would take further action, or not that they would take further action, but that it would go to the Law Enforcement Review Board, and they would investigate it from there. ACER would investigate it. So that is where we're at with this. No doubt a little bit more left to report on this story. Stay tuned. Glad you could join us again for this other live feature that we did, featuring the press conference of Sean Chu. Again, he will not be resigning his seat, and he does hope that he can continue to work with his fellow councillors. Again, I'm Darren Krause, editor at Livewire Calgary. Thank you so much for joining me.